Welcome back to the PulpMX Fantasy Show powered by Maxxis. I'm Donnie from RotoMoto, and in this video I have 5 riders I want you to look at when making your picks for the 10th round of Pro Motocross at Budds Creek, tips for the FFL, the weather report, race day schedule, and an early look at what my team could be come Saturday night. Stick around to the end to find out how you could win race used and autograph memorabilia even if you aren't good at the game. The 450 class somehow gets even deeper around the top 10 with Antonio Cairoli returning to the States for his first of 2 rounds to close out the season. He averaged a 6.3 finish in the 3 opening rounds before going DNF at High Point and heading back to Europe. The 250 class sees Michael Mosman return for the TLD Gas team after suffering a concussion at Spring Creek, and the rest of this section is dedicated to the Star Racing Yamaha squad, who loses yet another, with Nick Romano missing the final 3 rounds with a thumb injury, but the relatively unknown Guillem Fares from Spain will make his US debut ahead of his MXDN appearance for the Spanish national team at Redbud later this year. For this weekend, I have 3 guys to target, 1 to avoid, and a high handicap guy for you gamblers out there, starting with the little class and working our way up. 250 All-Star, and it's gotta be Jet. Almost 90% of players are able to pick him this weekend, and he's available with a positive handicap for just the 4th time this season. Jet has finished in the top 2 in 15 of 18 motos this year, and only has 2 finishes off the podium, and take away that mechanical DNF at Redbud, and he would have a 90% success rate. A double eligible 250 guy I want you to look at this weekend is Carson Mumford. The Bar X Suzuki rider comes in with an 8 handicap and is finished with a top 18 in 6 of his 7 motos this year. The only blemish, his first moto DNF last weekend. Outside of that failure, Carson has an average finish of 13.3 this season with a season best of 10th in the 2nd moto at Spring Creek, which would get you 88 points if he could match that finish in both motos this weekend. Over to the 450s, the All-Star spot is a difficult one this weekend, but I'm looking at Jason Anderson. At a 3 handicap, his raw numbers don't look that great with only 67% success rate on the season, but it's his recent success that piques my interest. Anderson has 5 podiums in his last 6 motos, with the one exception a meager 4th, and he is the only rider not named Chase or Eli to finish top 10 in every single moto this season. One guy that I am not a fan of this weekend is Big Rig Benny Bloss. Many were waiting for Benny to have a bad day so that his handicap would get a bump and raise his value, and it happened last weekend, boosting him to a 4 after going DNF, but that is still not enough for me. Benny has only finished top 14 in 65% of motos with the best of just 9th. Even if Benny comes out swinging and goes 9-9 despite the deeper field this weekend, that's just a 64-point ceiling, and that is not enough of a payday to take a ride on the Big Rig train. The high handicap hero of the round given to a rider with a handicap of 10 or more that I think has a realistic chance to score massive points this weekend if you're the type of person that likes to sweat out 60 plus 4 for a big payout. This week is the exact same as last week after Lance Kobush unfortunately was forced to miss Unadilla due to illness. Lance went DNF at Washougal, ballooning his handicap all the way up to an 18 this weekend, but even with those DNFs, his average finish is still just 22.6, which would leave you with 72 points. He's finished in the top 28 in every single moto except those double DNFs, and has as high as 16th. So mathematically, he's as solid of a floor and as high of a ceiling as you could hope for from a high handicap guy. Moving on to the FFLs, it took all season, but Justin Cooper finally cemented himself as the weekend and week out favorite. His double FFL weekend at Unadilla puts him at 6 on the season, 2 more than anyone else, and another New England track should suit him just fine this weekend. 450 side, I'm still looking red even though it was an all-blue sweep last weekend. Roxon and Sexton have combined for 13 FFLs and 18 tries, with Ken having the lion's share here. The Budds Creek National in Mechanicsville, Maryland will see qualifying kickoff at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. RotoMoto Patreon supporters will see the enhanced cheat sheets around 11:30 in the morning, with the basic qualifying cheat sheet hitting Twitterland and Instagram at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And finally, the picks lock and the gates drop at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific for 4 hours of live action that can be watched on MAV TV or streamed on Flow Racing. It's going to be a nice and cool New England weekend with a high in the high 70s, low 80s with a mix of sun and clouds during race day, but there is still technically a threat of rain as there are AM showers in the forecast. It is less than a 50% chance, so there is a shot we could stay dry, but plan accordingly in case you need to make switches to your team if it does get muddy and soupy. Before I show you my early team, I want to talk to you about Maxxis Tire coming on for all 12 rounds so I can deliver these videos for you. You know Maxxis Tire. You know their MXST tire designed by the King of Supercross and my all-time favorite rider, Jeremy McGrath. It is the newest and most advanced tire in the Maxxis MX lineup, featuring an all-new tread pattern, compound, and composition to provide the stability, predictability, and traction that the upper tiers of motocross demand. The entire SGB Honda team runs Maxxis on their race bikes, including PulpMX show favorites and on-again, off-again rivals Alex Ray and Cade Clayson. Available at your local retailer and also at motosport.com. My Thursday team looks like this. Give me Jet Lawrence with a 1 handicap. Michael Mosman returns with a 2. Carson Mumford with a cool 8, and high handicap hero Lance Kobush at an 18. 450 side, it's Jason Anderson with a 3. Man-child Garrett Marchbanks clocking in with a 5. Twisted T Suzuki's Marshall Welton with a 7, and hometown hero Justin Rodbell closing out his summer with a 14. The prize for the highest championship league score at Buds will be an autographed Jalek Swoll jersey, but if you're not great at fantasy, that is okay. If you want a chance to win something like this autographed Dean Wilson O'Neal jersey, consider joining me over on Patreon. For just about $1 per week, you're entered to win race shoes and autographed memorabilia, and insiders and above double their entries, as well as an exclusive podcast talking fantasy stats on every rider in the field, and that enhanced cheat sheet that comes out every single Saturday. Link for that will be in the description below. And don't forget to follow PulpMX Fantasy and RotoMoto on both Instagram and Twitter for injury updates as the weekend rolls on, qualifying info and stats and banner throughout the race itself, as well as those fantasy cheat sheets once qualifying is done and wrapped. Thanks for watching the PulpMX Fantasy Show presented by Maxxis Tire. My name is Donnie, and may your chiz this weekend. Remember that 8 is great, and most importantly, have fun. Good luck, y'all.